Turbocor, the world's first magnetic-bearing, oil-free, centrifugal compressor for air conditioning applications. From Danfoss, engineering tomorrow. Safety precautions must be observed during the installation, startup, and service of the compressor due to the presence of pressure and voltage hazards. Only qualified and trained personnel should install, start up, and service Danfoss Turbocor compressors. This step-by-step service tutorial will guide you through the removal of the Danfoss Turbocor 342 inverter and installation of the 613 inverter on major revision F and earlier TT300 and TG230 compressor models. The function of the inverter is to convert the high DC voltage input to a variable frequency, three-phase AC voltage output to the motor to turn the shaft at the required speed and torque. The backplane sends 24 volts DC and control signals to the inverter from the BMCC. In return, the inverter sends motor current, temperature, and DC voltage information to the BMCC via the backplane. The need to change the inverter may arise when inverter-related faults are occurring. Refer to troubleshooting outlined in the service manual or the TurboTool app. Before performing any service on a Danfoss Turbocor compressor, electrical power must be isolated. Turn off the mains input power to the compressor and lock out, tag out the mains disconnect. Confirm that the AC voltage is isolated. Wait at least 20 minutes for the DC bus capacitors to discharge. Remove the top cover, taking care not to touch any components underneath. Then, using an appropriately rated voltage meter, check the DC bus bars for DC voltage level. If the voltage is above 5 volts DC, wait 5 minutes and recheck until voltage is below 5 volts DC. ESD precautions must be taken to prevent possible damage to static-sensitive components. A grounding wrist strap must be worn when handling ESD-sensitive components. For F-Series compressors, disconnect the soft start temperature cable. Cut and remove the cable ties that bind the harnesses. Disconnect the soft start ground wire by removing the nuts and mains input ground wire from the ground posts on the compressor housing. Remove the fasteners that secure the soft start mounting bracket to the compressor. Then lift the soft start and turn it over. Unplug the cable connectors from the soft start board and remove the soft start assembly. Remove the fasteners from the AC-DC cable harness on the AC input fuses. Remove the fuse blocks and mylar insulator from the mains terminal. Remove the screws that retain the mains terminal block. Place the terminal block aside. Remove the bolts from the SCR DC bus bars. Disconnect the cables from the motor winding thermistor terminals. DC-DC, inverter, and SCR temperature sensor. Remove the snubber capacitors. Remove the nylon nuts and pressure relief foil at the base of the compressor. Remove the DC bus capacitors as an assembly. Remove the insulating mylar from the inverter. Disconnect the compressor cable harness from the suction and discharge sensors and IGV motor. Remove the bolts and copper tubes that connect the motor bus bars to the inverter. Remove the motor bus bars from the high-power feed-throughs. To remove the DC-DC, loosen the back screws and remove the front screws. Carefully lift and pull the DC-DC out and away from the inverter plate. The thermal paste between the DC-DC and the inverter cooling plate may stick. Remove the fasteners that secure the inverter to the compressor main housing. Follow standard refrigerant recovery procedures prior to removing the inverter. Remove the inverter assembly with the HVACR manifold. Carefully peel back the HVACR manifold insulation and remove the two fasteners. Place the HVACR manifold aside for reuse with the new inverter. Apply O-Lube to the smallest O-rings and install them into the HVACR cooling manifold. Install the HVACR manifold to the 613 inverter cooling manifold using the two fasteners and torque to 7 Newton meters. Clean the O-ring grooves in the compressor housing. Apply O-Lube to the inverter O-ring and place the O-ring in the compressor housing groove. Install the small O-ring into the motor cooling port. Remove the backing material from the cooling manifold of the new inverter. Handle carefully to prevent damage to the sealing surface of the inverter manifold. Route the HVACR temperature sensor cable underneath the manifold before installing the inverter. Carefully install the inverter on the compressor housing. Install the inverter screws using a diagonal pattern. Tighten first at 3 Newton meters, then to 8 Newton meters. Check all screws. Before continuing with assembly, leak test and begin to evacuate the compressor. Start the back 4 DC-DC screws on the inverter plate and install the DC-DC with the front 4 screws already in the DC-DC. Starting from the middle of the DC-DC, tighten the DC-DC screws to 0.5 Newton meters, 4 inch-pounds. Reconnect the HVACR temperature sensor. Route the compressor cable harness between the inverter and HVACR manifold and connect to the discharge sensor, IGV motor connection, and the suction sensor. Install the new manifold insulator mylar on the DC bus capacitor assembly over the last 2 negative bus bar contacts. Place the DC bus capacitor assembly on the compressor over the inverter. Loosely install the snubber capacitors and HVACR bus bar bolts. Tighten the snubbers, starting from the capacitor side and working toward the DC-DC to 7 Newton meters. Tighten the HVACR bus bar bolts to 10 Newton meters. Underneath the capacitors, install the membrane and nylon nuts. Place the new motor bus bars in correct location. Loosely install the bolts to the high-power motor feed-throughs and to the inverter with the copper tubes in place. Tighten the bolts to the inverter to 14 Newton meters. Then, tighten the high-power motor feed-through bolts to 14 Newton meters. Connect the cable harnesses to the inverter, DC-DC, and motor thermistor terminals. Connect the AC-DC harness to the DC bus. Install the terminal block over the housing standoffs and place the mylar in the middle of the terminal block. Install the 3 fuse assemblies to the terminal block and torque to 4 Newton meters. Install the 3 AC cables in correct order on the fuse input to the SCRs. Torque to 5 Newton meters. Holding the soft start by its frame over the SCRs, connect the AC-DC cable harness and gate cable. Turn the soft start over and secure it to the motor tower. Torque to 5 Newton meters. Connect the soft start temperature cable. Route the soft start ground cable down to the ground post. Install the nut over the top and tighten to 10 Newton meters. Use a cable tie to bundle the wires above the DC-DC and behind the soft start. Inspect all connections. Ensure all fasteners are secure and all components are properly installed. Install the top side cover. Install the mains input cover before applying power. Apply power to the compressor and verify operation. This concludes the Danfoss Turbocor TT300 and TG230 inverter replacement presentation. For more information on Danfoss Turbocor products and service documentation, please visit us online at turbocor.com.